Not a Real News Channel presents.
Good morning, good evening, or whatever it is that you are doing. Thanks for watching us today. My name is Alessandra Dickinson.
And I'm Daniel Stanley, and this is the news that rock and roll.
In this occasion, we present to you a special edition of our program.
The development of the pure and sacred rock and roll from the 50s to the 70s by the narration of it in real time.
The rock has its origins in the 50s during the social historical context in the USA and rapidly became an influence that spread in the entire Occident.
During all this process, the ideologies that gave birth to this genre appeared, rebelly expressed because of the conformity that meant the awakening of a new generation that would be the voice of youth, and more important, reality.
Rock became an international genre, that sign of identity of one of the most powerful entertainment industry in music, and also in that factor of social change.
And now we go to the group of all these beautiful men, the 50s. Leo, we're listening to you.
Hi Daniel and Ale, I'm here in the 50s and the first thing that I see right here is a massive boom. Mainly, we have this manifestation of black people located in parts of the US and enslaved from the West Africa in genres as blues and the southern part of the country generally.
And what more can you see over there, Leo?
I'm near legendary musicians as Chuck the Master, Berry, Bo Diddley and Little Richard. The first one is singing one of the classic songs titled Johnny B. Good. Also, it is rumored that in this event, they are going to sing My Thing Ali. Who do you believe? Our long-told Sally. It's like baby rock and roll that shows us a transition between rhythm and blues to an explosive and danceable music.
And what do you think will happen next?
Well, I think that artists like Jane Vincent and Ron Orlington will be the ones that spread this genre between white population.
We hope your predictions are correct.
Elvis records his first hit on January 4, 1954. The name was. With his song Jailhouse Rock, he became part of the 500 greatest songs of all time. Breaking news.
In other news, some of the most important stars from rock and roll died in a plane crash. The victims list are Buddy Holly, Richie Valens, and Big Bopper.
Also, in fact, many movements were generated in the United States, like in California, where Richie Valens started the new wave of rock in Spanish with the spicy Latin sounds, the bamba.
And now to the 60s. This decade is characterized by psychedelic rock music joining the black music with the progressive rock, heavy metal, hard rock, blues, and jazz. And this genre is very diverse, so we can define it as a subgenre. Sarah, we are listening to you.
The historical importance of the psychedelic rock is related to the hippie movement. This resistance against consumerism of the West and the menace of the Vietnam War brought one perspective that sometimes using drugs was not as bad in order to maintain the mind into something more subjective that led to opposition to the imposed principles of the baby boomers and protest in a pacific way.
Oh, philosophical. And what about you, Leo?
Well, I am at the Woodstock Festival and currently we are listening to The Who. We have information that Santana is coming to the stage and Janis Joplin is following.
Unfortunately, the Beatles, Bob Dylan, The Doors, and Led Zeppelin rejected the invitation to the festival.
The Beatles, how can I forget them? The Quarrymen, the previous name of these guys, started to have performances at the Cavern Club. Then, in the following years, songs like Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, I Wanna Hold Your Hand, that gave them their first hit, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. And Yellow Submarine will turn them into one of the most iconic classic bands.
Well, I think Sarah has something to say.
Hi again, Dan. Well, I can say that there's new genres born over here. In the first hand, we have folk rock created by the unforgettable Bob Dylan. Then, in the other hand, we have the surf rock with the Beach Boys and the Rivieras. Also, the Rolling Stones started a bit in London, Stevie Wonder, and also David Bowie is hitting the road. Pink Floyd appeared with that area of a pure melancholic and psychedelic thoughts. And you know who's missing?
And here we go again.
Led Zeppelin. On 1969 had their first concert at London and England, and
It's enough, Sarah. Thank you. Then we have the Creedence Clearwater Revival and Neil Young, that maintain a more classic side of the rock and roll in a troubled decade. Commercially, we have the Velvet Underground, with a darker side on the following decades. I'm very sure that it will give the conditions to the punk, glam, and goth rock to appear.
And it will come through, of course.
So, 7 had arrived, and something tells me that Ozzy Osbourne is hungry.
I bet it's for eating bags, isn't it?
Not precisely. So, now it's time to talk about the 70s. But,
Yay.
but now, we'll listen to some experts in the topic. Welcome, Mrs. Lydia Gilmer and Mr. Roger Buckley.
Thanks for inviting us to this great program.
we are glad to be here.
We are more even glad to have you here. If you don't mind, I'll begin with some questions. In terms of news and some genres, what can we find in the 70s?
Basically, the 70s was a period in which the rock was in really constant mutation and a fusion to create a lot of like currents that eventually came solid subgenres like the hard rock and the heavy metal that added its origins from the branch of doom metal. In fact, this will be a rich base to the 80s to develop more than expected.
Interesting. And what would be some example of this mutation in genre, or the most representative bands?
We have the recorded and disturbing lyrics in the album of Black Sabbath that are filled with a darker perform of mystery and occultism, accompanied with blue tendencies and a heavy style. Also, we have Deep Purple with the album Machine Head and the huge success with the song Smoke in the Water.
Also, there's Led Zeppelin, the important album Led Zeppelin 4 that is one of the most valuable works in hard rock, folk, and even blues community, giving beautiful masterpieces as Black Dog, Rock and Roll, and the mystical Stairway to Heaven.
Another exponent of classical root between blues rock and hard rock in the face with Rod Stewart, and in progressive rock and jazz rock is King Crimson and Pink Floyd, that released the most successful album that will give them the title of the parents of the space rock, as this mixture of predominant in this decade. We have new genres. The funk is born from soul, and it will become a fundamental aspect for the development of disco music.
But we can't forget the glam rock and rolls with artists like Queen, Alice Cooper, David Bowie, or T-Rex, and it was continued in the following years by Lou Reed and the Stooges.
I'm not particularly familiar with the glam rock. Could you please give me some specific characteristics?
Sure. I'm actualized the Frenchness of rock and roll from the 50s by using elements as provocation and makeup. It had a huge influence in later genres as funk and genres that were born in those years.
Also, the hard rock arises with bands as Aerosmith, Kiss, AC/DC, Motorhead, and the heavy metal too, with Judas Priest, the Scorpions, and Nazareth. Then the Dam as the first band of punk rock, and the Sex Pistols with God Save the Queen.
Thanks for sharing your knowledge with us, Lydia and Roger.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Well, we're glad that you stayed with us at the news that would be rolled. In our next edition, we'll have the pleasure to mention the 80s. But just to give you a hint, these years were the peak of bands as Primal Scream, Guns N' Roses, and Metallica. Well,
You'll just spoil our next program. Why don't we give a conclusion?
fine. Well, to close, we would like to end up saying that the importance of the rock and roll must be recognized, not just as a genre, but an agent of cultural diffusion and a voice of the reality, of course, in which we become aware of the situation as part of our lifestyle, even if they are difficult to see, maybe because we don't want to see them. Just as in the 50s, in which the fear was in control, awakening that beast of the government to use people as dolls, controlling feelings and thoughts.
Also, we have to change in the ideas of the newborn generations that are totally conscious that they are the ones that build the world in which they live. The youth, the iconoclastic, the rebels.
They transmit to the society that ideas to help to find the key of understanding, not categorizing by races or even nationalities, love, hate, loyalty, revolution. Rock and roll wouldn't be possible in another time. Regarding the abbreviation styles of blues or country, in which we find voices of people marginalized and repressed.
Definitely, we can say that these combinations of lyrics and sounds give the chance to the unity for several causes and try to be free out of the political and cultural aspects to feel the world in a more sensitive way, even if that part of them is only resting on a grave, waiting.
Because we're alive, and that's the most important thing that we have. What really makes us human?
To look for a place to rely on.
An object or a person.
Or even something more beautiful, in a song that can connect us with our real humanity.
In our next program, we're gonna continue with the magnificent history of rock. Hope you have a nice day and make the love and the rock live forever.
Bye-bye!
Hey.
Pues no estaría mal uno de estos, mira.
No, pero no sé, me gustaría más un fondo de noticias.
In this occasion, we present to you a special edition of our program.
Good morning.
An object or a person.
Ale. Hi again, Dan. Well, I can say that there's new gingers yet.